There's the element where what we eat impacts our glucose, but there's so many other elements. There's how our body translates glucose, how it receives glucose, how we slept that night, what kind of stress we're going through, where our hormones are at that moment in time. And we don't have that information from the bio, so it's hard to hack. And then we get into these cycles that keep us spinning, looking for answers, or trying or striving for what our neighbor had or our sister had with that one supplement or fix.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, the podcast that delivers mentorship in every conversation. Each episode, we meet remarkable women who share the real moments, challenges, and breakthroughs that shape their journeys. These are stories that inspire, empower, and remind us of what is possible. I'm your host, Rainey Alpers, and I cannot wait for you to meet today's guest. Let's jump in and uncover your next mentor moment. Hey everyone, welcome to Working Women Mentor. I'm your host, Rainey Alpers, and today we get the pleasure of meeting Andrea Nakayama. She is a functional medicine nutritionist, a narrative medicine practitioner, and she is the founder of Functional Nutrition Alliance. She has an incredible system, training, and protocol method that has helped thousands of practitioners around the world. And in this episode today, she's helping us break down the very simple steps, it sounds simple, right? To help regulate our nervous system, to help recognize when there is a problem, when there is a solution, and how to make better decisions. Really talking about our health and our wellness and taking us through her journey of change and transition, which we all have in our life. I cannot wait for you to meet her. Please jump in and listen to this episode with me. You're going to take away so much. Here we go. All right. Welcome to Working Women Mentor. How are you today?
I am so excited to be with you, Rainey. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Please introduce yourself to our audience. We're excited you're here.
Thank you. I am Andrea Nakayama. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist and a narrative medicine practitioner and founder of the Functional Nutrition Alliance, which I recently exited as I am building what's next in the space of functional medicine, longevity, and women's aging health.
Oh my gosh, I just had a birthday, so aging is a hot topic to me right now, Andrea. I love it. There's so much going on, so I'm really excited to dive into this and really appreciate you being here with us during this big moment in your life. But first, we ask all of our guests to text a friend and share with us on air how they described you for our audience.
I did that with a couple of friends, and one newer friend, just a few years old in our friendship, wrote, Andrea is on a very short list of people I feel entirely safe being completely vulnerable with. Aww. Not only that, she's funny, expressive, and careful with her work and words in a way that everyone should be. She's a treasure in my life, and I pray the two of us will always be connected. And then older friend.
That's so beautiful. I love the range. I love that she sent it to like new friend and old friend. Shows you how valuable making those new relationships are.
Yes.
Though. What a great reminder.
I'm actually just writing about that in my transition series, but the older friend said, Andrea is a brilliant thinker and writer who sees life and explores its many experiences through a unique, holistic lens.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love setting the tone of our conversation with feedback from those who know you the best. I love setting that intention. So with that being said, we have so much to talk about. And so you have such a history in navigating change, which you're currently doing, you're writing about it, but give us sort of an understanding of navigating that illness, the challenges that stem from this, what you've done from having those challenges, and just take us back a little ways.
Yes. So I'm going to go back to April of 2000 when my late husband, Isamu, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. That was really a huge amount of change and transformation at an early stage in life. We were in our early 30s. He was given 6 months to live. I was 7 weeks pregnant at the time of his diagnosis. He ended up living 2.5 years. So he died when our son was 19 months old in 2002. But that period of living together with a diagnosis of the transformation that our relationship went through, that life went through, was really a huge lesson for me. And it was the first time I was exposed to the medical system. We had never really been in the system.
Right. And that's a big way.
Huge. That was a transformation in itself. And that was a transformation that woke me up to the gaps in that system that I then, after he died and after many years, decided that it was really my mission to help fill those gaps. And when I say there's gaps in the medical system, it's not to disparage the existing system. It's to say it does some things really well. And there are other pieces of the equation that aren't its job or its scope, but are still in the realm of health, healing, living with a diagnosis. And so that became my life's mission. And I put myself back through years of school as a single parent, working full time, to be able to fulfill on that mission and build something in his name, really.
My eyes water thinking and listening to that. Andre, there must have been a point in that realization, whether it was his diagnosis, whether it was figuring out what to do next, where your eyes opened and you're like, whoa, there is a gap and this is what it's feeling like. And I know a lot of us out there have had family, friends, if not ourselves,
yes,
have been in those situations. So what was that like for you? And if you wouldn't mind sharing a moment from there so we can understand that and how to notice it and what to do with it.
Yeah. So really, I think what I started to realize is that when it comes to healthcare, when we're younger, there's sort of an 80-20. 80 people can do the thing that's prescribed or told to us on the internet now or on social media and feel better. And there's 20% who don't. And when you have a chronic condition like cancer or diabetes or heart disease, but also autoimmunity or Lyme disease or some unexplained, undiagnosed ailment, you fall into the 20%. And unfortunately, as we age, we actually flip that equation. So we actually are living into more of the 80% because we're more susceptible to some of those insults that the body has and those diagnoses. And we're also outside of what the medical system knows how to deal with. We aren't any longer in the fix-it scenarios. So that wake up for me really came when I realized two significant gaps. One was that people are treated like their diagnosis. So I was shocked to see my 31-year-old husband treated like a brain tumor. He was talked about like a brain tumor. He wasn't spoken to. They would speak to me in the room and not him. And I'd be like,
he just disappeared.
He just disappeared. He was a brain tumor.
His identity
and all
was a brain
these
tumor.
Assumptions were made about what that meant. So that was the first gap. People are treated like their diagnoses. And then the second gap that I saw was that all people with the same diagnosis are treated the same. That in the medical system, we have protocol of what is supposed to happen. And so he was an anomaly because at that time, unfortunately, this isn't true any longer, but that diagnosis mostly happened in older individuals.
Oh, wow.
People didn't expect him to even live as long as he did. That was an anomaly. And so there was a point where there was nothing left to do. People didn't know. Those were the first two gaps. And I think the awareness came from having love for a person that I was seeing ushered through in this particular way, and just like experiencing the mismatch of that was so alarming for me that I couldn't help but wake up.
Just being there and witnessing that. We've all witnessed things that, regardless of health, someone not being treated the right way that they should be, not understanding the person we love, people looking at them with different lenses. And then you apply this to a major medical situation. And so how long after his passing, his diagnosis, like when did you start transitioning this to, I have to find and help other people? Walk me through that, because that is a big leap. And like you said, lots of education, lots of learning. Like, Walk me through that path, because that to me is where the light bulb went off. And then we have to have some action to take all these complex pieces and simplify them almost.
Yes. And I love how you do that, make the complex simplified. And it's a lot of what I've done in my work and my teaching. For me, I had a very established career. I was working in book publishing. I was lucky enough to work from home in San Francisco, then Portland for a company in New York. I had that freedom. I had a really well-established career. So that made it even harder to leave. So that's how strong this calling was.
Because you had an identity, Andrea.
Yes, exactly.
Let's not forget your identity too. You were not just born the day that happened, right? Like you had a world before all of this. Okay, yes. I just had to touch on that.
And a strong sense of self, of income, of providing for my family, of respect for what I did. And I had to make a leap to starting all over. But there were a couple of key moments for me. And one came when a friend locally, and I live in Portland, Oregon, there are a lot of naturopaths. So I had a lot of naturopathic friends. And a friend was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I found myself doing my researchy thing. And then I would step back and I was like, they don't need me. They're all like naturopaths. What do they need me for? And I kept doing the research and then backing out and doing the research because that was what was interesting to me. And she actually called me, a naturopath herself, and said, look, everybody else has everything taken care of. I want you to take care of my food regimen before and after surgery. Are you willing to do that? And I was like, me? I just started doing my thing. I reached out to some nutritionists and they said to me, why are you not doing this? And so there was an allowance that was coming from other new mirrors for me that you can do this too. The other was financial.
It plays a factor, doesn't it?
Yes. Huge. Plays a factor in everything. I was now a single parent with a single income house, and I was nervous about leaving my career. And I was working with a financial advisor, and I was saying all this needs to go for my son and this needs to happen. And she said, look, he's going to be taken care of. He has other things that are going to take care of him. You need to take care of you. That gave me permission to make a leap and know that everything I was saving could be for my next iteration and that his would come later. And also my parents, they were nervous for me, but they were like, we believe in you. And so even, at that point I was in my late 30s and I think they were like, we believe in you. You will make anything you want happen.
It sounds like people can see you very well that know you, and the friend that trusted you to care, your parents that support you. How smart is that? We all should be touching base with financial experts.
Yes.
Everyone should have one in their life. If you don't, go find one, because you got the grounding and permission almost to just, a piece that maybe you personally had not handled a lot of before, right?
Correct.
And so it's like when you get that permission to move forward freely and I've got this, that's huge relief. So I imagine it makes that leap a little lighter for you.
It was scary and it was big. And I went from making a good income to no income to very slow income and then building from there. And I think that's a lot of what I'm writing about in this last passage in the 8-part series I'm writing on transition is we have to take small steps and kind of titrate or acclimatize as we are building something new, as opposed to thinking we're going to take a leap and it's the pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow.
I was just talking to a friend last night. She's starting something new. And she was like, I just had a meltdown moment this weekend. She's, I have to remember this is slow. These things don't happen overnight. We're always reminding ourselves of that. And she knows all this, but it can still overwhelm you anytime you're going through transition. We'll link your series in our episode so folks can listen in. But as you started this new career, as you exited, as life is unfolding for you, mentorship is always a pivotal piece of our life when we can get it and find it and understand it. Was there someone in your life, Andrea, that stands out, that shared a moment with you that changed your trajectory?
I've thought about this question a lot, and I think that for me, it's rarely one person than many people or an ideology. I tend to be a alchemist or a synthesizer. I think it's one of the unique things about my work that I didn't come from a health or medical background. That came later, and that understanding of the science. So I see things through a different lens than a lot of people who kind of grew up in that arena. And so for me, I think I'm constantly looking for guidance in very specific things as opposed to the overarching thing. So by that, I mean, if I'm honing in on my skill to speak on stage, I'm going to find a mentor who has done a lot of speaking on stage. If I'm honing in on my book proposal, I'm going to find a mentor who has sold a lot of books and done book proposals. So I think for me, yes to mentorship, but it's more in the messaging and my synthesis of that messaging to make meaning for myself versus one person for one thing.
Oh, for sure. I think we have them at all different times of our lives. And sometimes even when they appear, I feel like you might not need it at that moment. Later on, you're like, oh, I remember that. And it returns later. Can you think of someone who has been very pertinent in your journey? I know that you are seemingly able to reach out to those mentors, which is impressive, by the way, because a lot of us don't do that often enough when we do need guidance. Give us some insight into how you do that and what that's meant for you.
Yeah. So back in the day, I'm going to go back to when I was making this bigger leap from the world of book publishing into the world of functional nutrition. I did hire a business coach, and I'd been watching these different coaches along the way and like seeing what people offered. And this is back in 2009, 2010. So it was a different online environment there. And I found my way to a mentor. Carrie Peters is her name. She was able to, again, reflect to me that what I was doing was different than the other people she was helping. That reflection also made me think differently about what am I doing that's different than other people who may be in nutrition or health coaching or dietetics, and kind of study that because I got that reflection. Carrie became a business coach for several years. Ultimately, we ended up being sister companies much later on when I first sold my company in 2018 and was still in charge of it. And then both of our companies sold again in 2023 to the entity that we're neither no longer a part of. But yes, that was a journey that I feel just, and I believe she knows, but I would not be here today without that simple reflection that something I was doing was distinct from what she was seeing.
Hey, working women, have you ever dreamed of starting a podcast but don't have enough time? I have been there. App chaos, endless Googling, tech rabbit holes, content grind, hours wasted, believe me, and not an episode live. That's why I am gifting you my free training, your complete blueprint to turn episode 1 into 30 days of AI-powered content. No overload, 2K of value inside. So go check it out. There's everything you need for week 1 launch and beyond. Visit workingwomenmentor.com/free training to claim yours now.
So whenever you look at this space that you were operating in then, and then you're working with others, because this really applies to seemingly you as a person, but your profession as well, is how do you then look through that same lens that she was able to see you in? Did that distinction piece, did that teach you something and how to hone in on it with other people? Because it is a beautiful talent, by the way. It's that synthesizing piece almost, taking everything in and pointing out exactly how it's different.
Yes, I think it is from a StrengthsFinder perspective. I'm an individuation person.
Okay.
So I tend to see the difference in what different people bring to the table. and not same everybody. So whether it was my team, and the largest team I had that was under my direction was 25 people, then worked with a larger team, but not all falling under my direction. And also with the practitioners that I've had the opportunity to train, over 9,000 practitioners in the 15 years that I ran the Functional Nutrition Alliance. But really being able to see those distinctions and honor, I love personality profiles.
Do you? Most people run from them, by the way.
I love them not because they're definitive, but they're clues. They give us little clues that, again, if you weave them together, they start to tell us some of those differentiators. And like I said, in Strength Finder, I'm about the individuation. And for me, that's seeing where somebody is, what they can handle, what's right fit for them. So I think that reflection that I got from Carrie was true to form for who I am as well, and how I'm able to carry that forward.
You are an alchemist. I just see you with a little lab over there tinkering with all of these potions and different things. She's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we're going to make this happen. So you often speak about those protocols and the biohacks and the pieces of them when it comes to chronic cases. And so help us understand, when someone says biohack and the limitations of those protocols, what is that? Because we're always looking for a hack to something. I mean, if you type in hack right now in GPT, it's like, what do you want? I can fix your problem really fast. And so how do you approach this?
Yeah, and a biohack means we're getting biological information from a test or a tracker of some sort, a wearable, and we're using that information to fix based on that information. But that information is rarely as clean as it pretends to be, unless, of course, we're going back to that 80%. For 80% of the people, this may work. But a lot of the times, and for most female bodies, we are rarely in the realm where that information is as clean as the protocol that follows it.
And consistent, right? Because our bodies are just constantly changing.
Exactly. So if we even look at something like glucose, and somebody's wearing a continuous glucose monitor, or they're following the glucose goddess, or they're trying to hack their glucose, there's the element where what we eat impacts our glucose, but there's so many other elements. There's how our body translates glucose, how it receives glucose, how we slept that night, what kind of stress we're going through, where our hormones are at that moment in time. And we don't have that information from the bio, so it's hard to hack. And then we get into these cycles that keep us spinning, looking for answers, or trying or striving for what our neighbor had or our sister had with that one supplement or fix.
Mm-hmm. That constant comparison mode, like, well, my neighbor takes this and it does X,
right,
and it's not doing that for me.
Yes. Or my neighbor's intermittent fasting and this happened. Why doesn't that work for me? That's your beauty of your biology. It's unique to you in so many ways.
So you say biology is never separate from your biography. Speak to us on that, because I think women listening, oh boy, we're thinking so much. I mean, we have so much going on in our body and our life. So explain that concept to me, and I want to hear about this.
There's one clear mantra that really is the overlay for all of my work, and that's everything is connected, we are all unique, and all things matter. And I have several tools or systems, frameworks that I designed over the years that help us think that way. And one of them is the Functional Nutrition Matrix, which is modeled after the Institute of Functional Medicine's matrix. It's just a little cleaner and clearer and easier for anybody to use. And on that matrix, we map what I call the story, the soup, and the skill. Now, I just want to talk through that lens for a second, because the skill is all things matter. It's lunch matters, sleep matters, exercise and movement, energy, hydration, stress resilience. It's all the things we do. And we can be a culture that's obsessed with that doing. What do I do? What do I eat? Do I put electrolytes in my water? how many vegetables should I be eating? What do I wear to sleep? What are all the things I can do? That's the skill section of the matrix. The soup section of the matrix is everything is connected. It's what's happening in our body. It's our gut, our brain, understanding that our hormones are connected to our liver, which is connected to our digestion. Everything is connected. And that's our biology. So in the center, we have that soup, that biology. On one side, we have the skill. All the things we do impact that biology. But there's another side. And that side is the story and that biography. And the story also flanks the soup or the biology, meaning our story impacts our physiological terrain. And that story can be broken up into what in functional medicine we call the ATMs, antecedents, triggers, and mediators. The antecedents are the things we just came with, how we were born, when we were born, our genetics. Ancestry, our genetics, or the epigenetics. Our triggers are our life occurrences, whether for me that was the death of my husband, his diagnosis, my son's move to Tokyo. All those things are triggers in our lives, and our mediators are the things that make us feel better or make us feel worse. That's our superpower, by the way. When we know those things, that's where we have the most power. But those things are influencing what's going on in the middle. And we tend to say, I have a stomach ache, what do I do? Not I have a stomach ache, what's getting triggered in my body. We tend to separate, and in functional nutrition, what I'm doing is I'm weaving those all together so I can see the individual through that holistic, full body lens that allows me to see, okay, before we do here, we may need to address or tease apart here. And I'm pointing to different places.
Yes, no, I'm tracking you. I am right with you. Okay, so the trigger piece is the part that we really need to understand because we all have them.
Yes.
We all know what is going on in our own life. You don't know what's going in mine. I don't know what your stressors are in yours. Is that the first step to really trying to understand for us? Like if we're trying to say, hey, I want a different outcome in my health, in my glucose. I'll just use that for an example, right? Or I've got eczema all over my body right now.
Yeah.
What are those things? Where is our first step in identifying it? Because you're right. We have a tendency to want to fix it. Give me the cream, give me the whatever, and let's keep moving.
Yes. And I think it would be nice if there was one first step. What I'd rather, and I have different models that speak into this, are like, how do we think through where we're going to start? And I call it the 3 tiers to nutrition mastery. Tier 1 are the non-negotiables. And the non-negotiables from my clinical perspective are sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance. I don't care if it's eczema, cancer, diabetes, Hashimoto's, Lyme disease, hormone issues. We have to get the foundation in place. So it may be that I'm spending time understanding those triggers, but I'm not just waiting to know my triggers before I say like, wait a minute, how do I focus on my sleep? I will tell you that in this tremendous moment of transition in my life, which has been very unmooring, huge identity shift and a lot of trauma associated with it, I am just focusing on my sleep and my vegetable intake. Like I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm not taking ashwagandha and rhodiola and doing like stress supplements and herbs. I'm just saying, how do I get my sleep back after this tumultuous time for myself? I'm not setting the alarm in the morning, and I've given up my morning routine. I love my morning routine. My morning routine was awesome, and I need a different healing modality right now that lets me honor my sleep without any alarm, literal or physiological. And I was in an alarm state, right?
Yeah.
Just
most
coming
of us
back to the non-negotiable of sleep and making sure I'm getting fiber, I'm releasing as much as I can.
Yeah.
Easy things for me to do. And For some people, that might be one of those things. Let me just focus on my sleep.
I love that. Start small.
Yeah, we have to try small and learn as we go.
I love that. And you've just given us permission to really think in I hate to say a small way, think in micro pieces, not a small way. It's big thinking, but on the small pieces of what are giant levers in our bodies.
Yes.
It's interesting. I have found myself on some days where I just know I need more sleep. I know something's off. I know that I normally am up at 5 a.m., but there's just no way in the world if I get up at 5 a.m., I can continue for the next couple of days at that pace, right? Like you have to listen to your body as well. And that's the first step, whether you want to admit it or not. No.
Yes, it is. I call it the simplicity on the other side of complexity. I can tell you all the physiological impacts of sleep and what it does throughout the entire body system. But sleep is the non-negotiable. Like it's necessary for hormones. It's necessary for digestion. It's necessary for the microbiome. It's necessary for mental health. So where I'm starting with people is usually in those areas. And when I say sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance, poop is just taking notice. And blood sugar balance is also easy. Fat, fiber, protein, every meal or snack. It's not about some biohack of what that looks like. It's just allowing for physiological regulation. And for me, and through this writing that I'm doing, I can see how important the body balance is for navigating the hard times.
Because your body's ready, isn't it? You're doing everything you can to get ready for, I don't want to say war, but you're preparing yourself for what you're going through. Andrea, when you're thinking about women in early years and midlife, we have different stages of life. We all have different things we're going through. But what are you seeing most? What have you seen most with your clients over the years during these 30s to 40s, 40s to 50s, 50s to 60s, and what they are missing? They come to you, you think, how do you not see this? Like you can probably spot it really, really quickly, I bet, at this point. So tell us what you're seeing, because I have a feeling someone listening's going to go, that's me too, and that's like me 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest thing I see is how hard it is to slow down and do the deeper work because we're so conditioned to be looking for the quick fix or the answer to our problems or the Band-Aid. And as we age, we have less of those opportunities for it to just be a quick remedy. But we're sold the quick remedy all the time. I mean, the menopause and perimenopause industrial complex right now is insane. And I just want to say, bravo that we're paying more attention, but the way we're paying attention is sending the wrong message and being done in a way that I wouldn't say is holding the responsibility of the nuance of each and every body. So I think we're making a big misstep with how this revolution is taking hold. Glad it's happening. Don't love the way it's happening.
A lot of capitalism involved in that.
Exactly.
And I was reading an article just the other day and she goes, well, I have tried everything on the market. I'm spending thousands a month on vitamins from Halle Berry, gummies from here, a shake from this person. She's like, I'm driving my husband insane. Every week it's a new thing I want to try. I went through the article and of course we're in this, I saw it on TikTok mode and we see those things and we're programmed for that quick fix. I am guilty of it myself. And I think what you have to say about that is so important for us to take a step back and really, really look at what's going on inside that regulation. Also, I mean, I wonder too, what other quick fixes are you looking for, right? Like it's usually not in one area. I don't know. What do you see?
Absolutely. And I think, it would be nice if I could say like, oh, everybody has digestive issues or everybody has leaky gut. For me, it's like everybody needs to separate the problem from the solution. And no matter what our age is, that is where I see the biggest misstep, that we're not separating the problem from the solution. We're running to solution And oftentimes when I meet with people still, and I have just a handful of clients that I see one-on-one.
They cannot live without you.
I
They're
know.
like, no matter what, you have to meet with me.
But it's like a nervous system reset because they find that they're chasing a solution. And if I just ask before I respond to this supplement stack that you're bringing me or this protocol or this intervention, I want to understand, why did it resonate with you to begin with? What is the problem we're trying to solve for? That, for me, is a very exciting way to think into even what I'm envisioning is next for me. Let me separate the problem that I'm looking to solve from the solution. Everybody wants me to tell them the solution. What's next? What are you building? What's it going to be? I can't wait. And I'm like, nope, I'm sitting in the middle. I'm sitting in the discomfort of understanding what this problem is. And all of the tools that I've built in functional nutrition for practitioners to use, not easy for them to use, not because the tools are hard, but because the thinking isn't. Separate the problem from the solution.
It's so interesting because I'm like a marketer at heart, right? And that's exactly the framework of speak to the problem someone is having and provide the solution. That's how it all is out there, right? And so I love your way of uncovering it, like you're reverse engineering it and seeing what they're biting on.
Yes.
And so for us listening to you, it's think about your past purchases.
Yes.
Just look at your credit card statement for the last few months and see, what have you been buying? What problem was it trying to solve? Whether it's a new toothpaste, I mean, anything.
Capture it in real time. Like, notice when you go to press purchase, capture it in real time. Like, what is it I want? And the number of texts I get from family or friends that are like, should I be taking XYZ? And I'm like, okay, they've got a new marketing campaign, right? Like they're filling everybody. And I'm like, why do you want to take that? And they will parrot to me what the marketing says.
Yeah. And you're like, okay.
Are you taking this? You're already taking care of that. But the marketing is really feeding our trigger for what we think we want. And I think in real time, even if we don't want to go back, just witnessing and sitting with it a little bit longer before we press purchase.
What great advice. How do you prevent pressing that purchase button? You have to be buying something. I mean, there has to be something. What's your protocol? Like, you don't have to say anything, but you've said a lot of wonderful things about how you're trying to sleep right now, how you're trying to restore your rhythm and your nervous system. And as we think about that, what advice would you give us for those who have a nervous system, right? And they may not even have a problem yet. They may not even be at the point where they need a medical solution to something. Yay. You're still on the 80% side, right? What is the advice you'd give that woman listening? And I say this because a lot of us have that overactive nervous system. We may not have any problems with it yet, but that can't last forever.
Yes. I think it really is just taking stock, being in tune with yourself, listening in, thinking about those non-negotiables, knowing if you don't poop okay today, but you poop okay tomorrow, that's not a big deal. Like, not navel gazing about everything, but living your life with a certain consciousness about how you feel, what's triggering, where you don't feel right about something. When I talked about those mediators being our superpower, I call that our yes, no, maybe list when it comes to food, but that can apply to anything. What is a big yes for you in your life? What's this is where I need to create a boundary and I'm going to create it now and gently? And what am I not sure about? So I will say one of the things that got me through this, or is getting me through, in addition to the writing and the sleeping and the veggies, is my dance class. Because my dance class, I go 3 or 4 times a week, 3 for sure. And it's just pure joy. Nobody in the room knows my trauma, knows who I am.
You're just there to dance.
I am just there to dance, and you're friendly with people, but they don't know anything about my life outside of there. And somebody's telling me what to do that I can just do. Like there's an hour in that day where I am just following a set of choreography that feels good in my body, where I'm not in my head. And so that just becomes a big capital exclamation point. Yes. Something that even on the hardest days, I will drag myself to. So knowing the things for us that are our own non-negotiables, I am going to say all of our non-negotiables physiologically, biologically are sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance. But we each also have our own non-negotiables, whether that's meditation or yoga, date night with our partner, or time to connect with our kids, whatever it is, more of that is what helps with that overactive nervous system over time.
Reconnection
to ourselves.
I love that. What mentor moment would you like to share with our audience today? You have a wonderful way of looking at things. You've had so much input from so many people that you love and admire. And so I'm curious, what piece of advice, what mentor moment would you want someone to remember you for when they go through the day and they're thinking, she really gave me some great advice?
I'm going to go back to something I've already said because I think it's really, really important. And it's separate the problem from the solution. And just remember that when we are in solutioning mode, if we can take a pause, gather a little bit more information, we are able to make better decisions. And I will say that wisdom comes from many people, I'm sure, but the place I learned it is from Shane Parrish, who is the writer at Farnham Street. And he's a real systems thinker. And he did an entire course on decision making. And that was one of my key takeaways from that mentorship was when we separate the problem from the solution, we come to better solutions. And that typically we spend 90% on the solution and 10%. If you notice in a meeting, somebody brings the problem and you spend the whole time ideating the solution. But if you separate those two meetings, you're going to come with a better solution.
Yeah, that's a beautiful reminder. Thank you for sharing that with us. How can everyone find you?
You can find me at Andrea Nakayama on all the platforms and at andreanakayama.com.
Andrea, thank you for being here today. This is wonderful. We're going to follow your journey of transition and life and everything that you share with us. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Rainey.
Hey, wait, before you go, I have one ask. Would you please leave us a review? Tapping on those stars on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening to this will really help us. It'll spread the word and your voice and your impact as well, because every episode we are giving mentor moments. And I hope you can continue this conversation with us at workingwomenmentor.com. To apply to be a guest, find show notes and episode details. And if you've ever wanted to start a podcast, we've got the perfect course for you. Follow us on Instagram at Working Women Mentor and DM us the word mentor, and I'll send you over our free guide on mentorship so you can incorporate it into your life. Thanks so much for joining us. And until then, cheers until the next episode.